Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of You Are the Guide. New week, new Monday, new episode. Today, we are going to be talking a little bit about how do we reinvent our identity um, after things in our life have changed. And I'm actually doing this video because it was requested. It was a question that somebody asked me, and I feel that it is so important to talk about it. I made an episode not that long ago talking a little bit about that of things that I have been going through where my whole life has changed, and I'm like, I don't know who I am, and I know it happens a lot to everybody often. It's not something that doesn't happen. I'm assuming there are some people that always feel they know their sense of identity, and it has never changed. But I think for many of us, we experience this. And I just want to get right into it. I want to say thank you for everybody that's listening. Before we begin the topic, take a little moment to take a deep breath, to arrive at this present moment, and to use anything that you hopefully hear from this episode to connect you deeper to yourself. So, I want to share with you the question that was given, and is, how do I redefine myself as a new identity, now that so many things have changed in my life? How do I redefine myself as a new identity? And I think this question was actually asked properly because it said, how do I redefine myself? And it tells us, the question itself lets us know that the process is going to happen by you deciding and you claiming this new definition of yourself and who you are. That is the key that I've been learning when it comes to redefining ourselves, is that we empower ourselves to now describe ourselves. We can even use the word, if it fits, label ourselves. Or I don't know if I like the word label, or maybe we decide how we live our lives now. And because I redefine myself, you redefine yourself, it means it requires a level of responsibility, and it requires a level of choosing. And remember, when we hear the word responsibility, like when I hear that word, I normally feel like, like it feels heavy, like, oh my God, no, like I don't want to be responsible. But in reality, is possibility. The word responsibility means when I take charge, the possibilities of my life are revealed. And it's beautiful. So the moment this question was asked, that means that person started the process of saying, I want to claim who I am now, even though these things have changed in my life. And if you can relate, if you've ever asked yourself that question, if you are asking yourself that question right now in this chapter in your life, I'm kind of going through that as well. Feel empowered because you're even curious to know who you are now. Now, the thing with claiming who we are is that we need to first discover what we're interested in. So I think that would be the first step into beginning this new chapter of claiming who you are now, is you have to discover what things in life, what things about how you do things every day, what you think about every day, what you value is very important to you. And I want to give a specific example. Let's say that somebody says, one of the most valuable things for me is my family. But I'm not talking right now to certain people of my family. Redefining yourself doesn't mean completely changing and now family is not a value for you. No, it may be, I value family so much, but these people are people that right now I'm not choosing to talk to. So I'm going to consciously make this next chapter of my life more about other people in my life that I want to right now spend time with, other people that are valuable to me because that's a value of me. But maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you find yourself in the past, family was like a super huge value for me, but now, right now, it's not. So then I would invite you to ask yourself, what brings you joy? What gets you excited? What is something that you would do or that you've been doing just because you like it? You're not getting paid. You're not, you're not doing it for other people. Maybe has nothing to do with your job. It's just something that you really enjoy. That can give you a big hint of what is something that you love and enjoy, which you want to claim right now as part of your identity. The reason for it is because I believe, and maybe not everybody shares this perspective, but I believe that life is for us to live and to enjoy. Life is a beautiful, positive thing. So if we're here, even though we're changing, situations are changing, we want to focus on those things that bring us joy. So that's an important question to ask yourself. And where it gets tricky is that sometimes we're going through things that are difficult. So we're not feeling joyous. We're not feeling joyous. But you know what I've learned as I've been going through this process is that I had to get curious and get out there to do things to find what brings me joy. I want to give you an example. For the majority of my life, I rejected dancing because I was very ashamed of my body, specifically the way that my body looked, and specifically the fact that I was overweight. So I felt that if I would dance and I would be like dancing, I was bringing attention to my body, which when you have shame, you want to hide. You don't want anybody to see. So if I'm dancing, I'm telling everybody in my mind, look at me, look at my body. And I didn't want anybody to look at it because I thought when you experience shame in some way, shame is very egocentric because it thinks that everybody thinks like itself. Like if I feel ashamed of my body, I think that everybody's judging my body. Nobody cares. Everybody's focused on themselves. But, we're like that. And that's what I used to think. So then I didn't want to dance. I would get angry if people made me dance. Then I started going through like a lot of my teaching. When I was teaching, I was doing seminars. I started to dance and enjoy it because for the seminars. Like, okay, if I'm at a seminar, I'm encouraging people to move. I want to move with them. And I would feel this joy of movement. And more than joy, I would feel this freedom and I would dance. But then I noticed that as soon as I wasn't at a seminar, I would go back to, I'm not a dancer. Like, I don't dance. And more recently, that I've been going through all of these changes in my life, I started to feel curious. That's where that word comes in about dancing, being free in my body. And I started joining dancing classes, which I had never done like that, like ever. My partner and I just went this last week to a tango class. And I learned so much about myself during that class. Like the level of control that I put on myself when I'm trying to dance, like something that whether there's steps and I'm like, I need to do it right. And instead of like letting go and enjoying it, but that's where the key is, by letting myself go out there and putting myself in the experience. I'm not thinking like, oh, this is how I would act at a dance class. This is what I would give me. I don't know until I do it. So it's out getting myself out there to new experiences and beginning to see, is that something that brings me joy? And for now, that could become part of my identity. Maybe there's going to be a chapter of my life where my identity is like, I'm a dancer. I don't know. I haven't fully arrived there, but there's that possibility. So, what I'm trying to get to here is you want to get curious and ask yourself, what brings me joy? And if you're in a chapter right now where you don't know what brings you joy, go out there and try different things to see if you discover something that does. And then when you do, you claim it. Claiming it means I accept that this is something that I enjoy doing, that brings me life, that allows me to feel more alive, or whatever however you describe it. And that becomes part of your identity. I want to say some things are things that have always been there. Not all of our identity fully goes at once. I was also recently talking to one of my teachers, and he was giving me, I forgot the exact example, like the story he said it, but it was something about, this famous writer, and somebody asked the famous writer, like, when do I know that I need to stop writing? And then the famous writer was like, "Well, do you want to stop writing?" And then the guy was like, "No." It's like, that's when you know. When you don't want to stop, that's how you know. And I was like, oh my God, that's me with being in front of a camera and teaching the things that I'm learning. Because even when one person's listening, or even when no one's listening, like I'm receiving nothing out of it, I still want to do it. When we started doing seminars here in the city, where I live. And I would say, like, we're making no money. Like sometimes we're losing money just to make the seminar happen. And I still wanted to do it. Like it was nothing about making the money. It's just I love teaching, so I cannot stop. Like I'll do it for one person. I see myself being like 80 years old and just waiting for the opportunity for somebody to ask me something for me just to share it. So that's an example. That is part of my identity. So you want to find those things that you don't want to stop doing, and you want to be willing to discover new things that give you that. Um so that would be the first thing that I would say. Now the second thing would be to learn where your boundaries are. And I've talked about this before, but learning where you start and you end, where others start and where they end, it tells you, it starts building your identity on its own, because now I am somebody that does not, I could be anything, like does not drink and drive. That is a line, a boundary that I have, and I don't drink and drive, and I don't get in a car with somebody that drinks. That is a boundary, and because you set that boundary, now your identity is, you could be described like that. I identify as somebody that is cautious because I don't drink and drive. So that is another way, another twist on how you can see this concept of identity. I mean, it's a very complex concept. And the important thing here, and I keep repeating it, is that you get to choose it. And that's difficult for some of us. There are some of us that have been people pleasing for so long. I think the term is fawning, where we're almost scared to choose our identity. How can I choose my, like, let me ask someone, do you think I'm like this? Do you think I'm like that? So then they tell me my identity and I can still play my role. You claiming your identity, this new identity that you get to create because you're a creator, is you claiming in some way that independence. So I'm just repeating that to keep it in mind, because I struggle with that. I like validation because validation helps me, it removes accountability, it removes responsibility. And I learned that when it comes to creating this identity, especially if it's like later in life, which to me that means after 40, it has to be all you. At this point, it has to be you. You claim who you are now, and you accept that who you are and your identity can change with time. It doesn't have to stay stagnant, and it doesn't have to stay still. I mean, if you want to go even a little deeper, if you are interested in the topics of astrology, look at your astrology. Look at your astrology and see naturally what are things that I naturally identify with. I want to give an example here. In my astrology, I am somebody that has Sagittarius rising. Sagittarius is the sign of optimism, but also the sign of learning, spirituality, spiritual concepts. So it almost makes sense that part of my identity is so much about learning. It's so much about the concepts of wanting to improve personal growth, wanting to travel internally to get to know myself. So it's part of my identity. Sometimes I forget that not everybody's like that. Like some people don't care about personal growth. I'm like, oh, you know? So I would love to know what's your rising sign, because that can give you a lot of perspective. And everything about astrology, if you want to use it for something, can give you perspective. Another thing about my astrology is my Venus is in Libra. So Libra is the sign of equality, of justice, but it's also a sign that represents that is in traditionally, originally in the sign of one committed partnerships. So I love to be in committed relationships. Like that's my thing. And everybody that knows me knows that. And I haven't been hiding it. I mean, it's like not necessarily proud of it, but I have been going from one committed relationship to the other because I feel fulfilled when I'm in a committed relationship. I like being in a committed relationship. And then the moment that something happens that there's no, like it's unjust, I lose interest in that person. Like it's very, very to the book of like Venus in Libra. Um, so I mean, I'm not gonna say let's obsess about astrology and now use astrology to tell me who I am, but it can inspire you. It could be like, oh my God, yes, that's a part of me that I see that I've never claimed as my identity. Now, for example, now that I know this about myself, I claim it. I own it. I do enjoy to be in committed relationships. I don't care how much the world tells women to be independent, be on your own, be single. It's like you claim it. What if it's the opposite? What if you love to be single and everybody keeps telling you to be in a relationship, blah, blah, blah? No, you have to find what what makes you feel at peace with yourself. So that's another route. Like how can I redefine myself? Another route is, if you're interested, using astrology as an inspiration. Never use it blindly and just believe everything you read. Use it as an inspiration. And then lastly, something that I want to share about this is that sometimes claiming and creating a new identity will take time. And I think that's what I am learning also right now. I wish it was like a one time thing. Like you sit down on a Sunday evening and write down, this is who I am now. And then you just act that way, which you can do that. You can do that to play. But I've learned that it doesn't necessarily stick permanently. Like it's a very fun thing that you can do, kind of like to be curious and be like, what if I start acting more assertive? I want to be an assertive person. Then let me, as an exercise, let me start acting more assertive. So yeah, you can do that. It goes back to the experiencing things. But here what I'm trying to say is sometimes it will take time for you to have enough experiences, process everything that you're going through, feel more at peace, and then be like, I really, really feel that I'm more myself now. And in being myself, my identity is this. And now you could name it. Before you name it, you may start living it. You may just become that. Um, and also, part of the identity is letting go. It's not only about the new that you're bringing in, it's sometimes letting go. I no longer want to be in this victim mentality. What work can I do to help me with that? Or what work am I already doing that I feel proud of, to let go of the victim mentality, or let go of judging myself so much? Let go of being so hard on myself. These are things that I'm telling you are things that I'm doing myself. I really claimed the victim role in my life. Like, oh my God, I played that deep and profoundly. I'm like, I since I can remember. Like I really identified as being a victim since I was a little kid. And what I'm referring to as a victim is, I felt, poor me. Why do things happen with me? This didn't work out. So they didn't love me. It's my fault. I use this storyline in my mind of, there's something wrong with me. I'm not good enough. That I don't dance because I'm fat and nobody loves fat people. And I had this dialogue. And because of it, I was very hard on myself all the time. Like all my decisions, All my actions were coming from this being hard on myself. And at some point, you decide to let go of that, and it takes time. It's not also magical, but you have to also make a decision. And what I learned is that it doesn't go from I feel like a victim and like not good enough to, oh my God, I feel so good enough. I feel so confident. No, it's like I feel less like a victim. Oh, I still feel like a victim, but a little less. Oh, I'm better able to manage situations. Oh, I don't think about those negative things that much. Oh, and little progress until eventually you just find yourself no longer feeling like a victim. That's just an example, but it can be anything. Part of your new identity is letting go. Letting go requires change and changing patterns, just many things. So that can be another important part. Um, I hope this information is helpful because, as you know, I'm sharing a lot of things out of inspiration. I don't necessarily plan everything that I'm about to say, and I do that on purpose as of now because I'm practicing different forms of communicating and being less controlling. As I'm talking about my new identities being more flowy and less Virgo and controlling from my perspective. Um, so I hope this is helpful. And from everything that I'm saying, that's why I'm saying so many different things. I do believe that sometimes seeing all the different perspectives allow you to sometimes, for some of you, to connect with one thing. Oh, what she said about being curious. I want to do that. I want to find more fun. Oh, what she said about letting go. Maybe that inspires me to let go. Maybe you're listening to this and what I'm saying has nothing to do with you, but it could help you inspire somebody else in your life. Or maybe you get interested in the astrology thing, like, oh, I want to learn more about astrology to use it to help me get to know myself a little bit better. Whatever it is that when you're listening, you feel a feeling in your body and you're like, yeah, that is the key. That is where right now, a lot of it is going to be blah, 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 boom. Then this thing stands out, blah, 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 blah. Use that and allow it to help you to grow. And that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you. I know this may spark other questions, and I'm so open to talk about this again if it was too general. If you have other questions, send me a little message, leave it in the comments. I want to share as much as I can so I can inspire you to be able to be your own powerful guide, remember. With that said, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will see you soon.